everybody is coming to a place where they just want to be somewhere where they can be themselves and not feel judged and not feel afraid to even voice an opinion that may not be the popular one, but know that it's safe for them to be able to express it and to be heard. It's not about having to agree with everybody. It's about holding space. And that to me is really ultimately what creates a supportive community that I actively am always seeking out. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Power in the Pause podcast. How are you guys doing today? Do not forget to hit subscribe so that you do not miss a single episode that comes out every single week. And in order for more people to know and find this podcast, I am inviting you to please leave a 5-star rating so that other people can discover the magic of the power in the pause. So without further ado, thank you guys for being here today and for joining me in today's episode. This is a special one, and I feel so incredibly lucky and grateful to be joined by Amy and Nancy Harrington. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hi. So nice to see you.
You guys as well. I am super excited to dive into our conversation today. You guys, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, stop everything that you are doing, because we are going to talk about the empowerment you can find in sisterhood and how these two amazing humans have created something called the Passionistas Project and how they have leveraged this to inspire change. So let me share a little bit more about Amy and Nancy with you guys. So they are the founders of the Passionistas Project, which is an inclusive sisterhood where passion-driven women come to support, find their purpose, and feel empowered to transform their lives and change the world. And I am grateful that these two amazing humans have come into my life. I was introduced to them from Kat, who was on a prior episode of our podcast. And when we got on a call, it was like absolute love. We all realized we all live in Southern California, like 10 minutes from each other, yet here we are on Zoom recording this podcast and had our first call. But I really wanted them to come on because to me, they really are a beautiful, beautiful example of what is possible when we step into community. So ladies, I had said to you, and what I always ask my guests when they come onto the show is, I know both of you have beautiful stories, and I'd love for each of you to share how it is that you found your power in a pause moment.
I think we probably had lots of them, but I think probably the most significant one was at the end of 2022, right? That's when we realized we've been doing the Passionistas Project since 2017, and it was sort of just opportunities presented themselves. We started with the podcast and it evolved into all sorts of other things, but we realized someone said to us, you're driving down the road while you're reading the map. And they said, you need to pull over, make a plan, figure out where you're going, and then get back on the road. And so in 2020, the end of 2022 and into 2023, we did that. And we stopped racing towards what we didn't know we were going towards and made a plan. And we worked with 3 different coaches. And we started at the beginning with, what are your key foundational words? What are your values? And about 6 months into that work, we realized that word that we weren't hitting on that was so obvious, but the word was sisterhood. And it's like, that's our secret sauce. That's what makes us special. And it's what everyone in our community was looking for. They wanted the connection that we have. And that's when we realized, well, we can give them that. And so in the middle of doing all this, I got really sick. And so then we were forced to pause even more because I literally was forced to pause. I was in bed for almost 5 months. And Amy was keeping the business afloat as best she could by herself, and really for the first time truly understanding what it was like for most people in our community out there doing it alone. And during that time, we really cut back on everything. We did only what was essential at the time to keep things moving forward. But that pause really made us really understand what our community members need and that importance of that sisterhood and support. And so when I got better at the end of 2023, we made the last plans to launch the Sisterhood, and we launched in March of 2024. And it's just been incredible. And I think without that downtime, it wouldn't be the community that it is today.
That's beautiful. And like, I think this is a great place for us to dive in and to start. I would love to know, and I'm a big proponent of definitions because I just want everyone to know how it is that you see and how you define the word sisterhood. Like, what does that mean? Talk about the power that you have seen and witnessed, both yourselves, the people in your community, and how it is continuing to really shape and help others.
Well, I mean, to start with, in terms of us, it literally means everything. And Nancy being sick last year was a blaring reminder of that. So Nancy and I have been best friends since I was born. She asked for me to be born when she went off to kindergarten. She asked our mom to have a baby so that she wouldn't be lonely. And I came along. So we literally have been best friends our whole lives. And because of that, I have always known, and Nancy has always known, that there is another human being on the planet who will do anything for me, who will always be there no matter what, who will be goofy with me, who will let me cry, who will help me learn the things I want to learn, will go on adventures, who will support me in my crazy dreams, just everything. She's everything to me. And so when people see us working together, we started working together 20 years ago. And when people see us working together, they always say, like, God, I just wish I had what you had. And so the way that that translates into the community we've built is our sisterhood is made mostly of women who are entrepreneurs, who work at home, who, even though they have people in their lives who support them, also think they're a little crazy because they've given up a corporate job to, follow some passion project, or they are an empty nester and someone's saying like, oh, that's really great that you're doing that, but they don't necessarily see the vision of it. They're activists, they're artists. Some are women in the corporate structure who feel like they have to be completely buttoned up in the corporate structure, but need to turn around and say to somebody like, I'm having a really bad day and I don't know what to do. So what we built is this community of women who can come to this space and truly be their authentic selves. And when we told some of our inner circle women that we were going to do it, they were like, okay, that sounds good. And they were skeptical because we've all been on social media where we think we're in a safe space because we're in some private Facebook group and it gets really catty or really, nasty, or someone leaves a comment and your feelings get hurt. And that is not what we have built. We have built a place where people can come and truly just be themselves. And if it's not someone's cup of tea, they just ignore it. And if it's something someone can relate to, they jump right in and they respond and they give support. And then in addition to that, we give them classes and courses so that they can learn. Not only is it a business development community, but it's also focused on personal growth and social impact. So it's a very well-rounded community where you can really come and get support in all these areas and connect with women in all these different ways. So, it's changed our lives because we have met so many incredible women on our own. Like, there's never a time now where I think like, how are we going to figure out how to do that? Because we know somebody who knows somebody who can help us figure something out. Or I'm having a really bad day, or, ooh, I read that and that really bugs me and I can post about it and people will come to my aid. And what we're seeing in terms of how it's helping other people is just women making unbelievable connections and truly supporting each other, learning about each other. We just did a workshop last week about women's rights and had a couple of incredible experts speaking and had this amazing conversation just about race and how white women and Black women communicate with each other, and giving a safe space for those conversations to happen where people can ask questions and not feel like they're going to say the wrong thing and be chastised for it. They can ask questions in a safe space and learn so that we're all moving forward in a more supportive way of other communities. So it's just a beautiful space. Am I forgetting anything?
No.
Yeah.
I got it all.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's beautiful. I mean, I think that there definitely is a sense of community, especially for women. I think it's something, it goes way, way, way back, right? Like we always say, we've got our tribe. And, as a mom, like I couldn't have raised my kids without my tribe, that I think that there is definitely a level of connection that we're able to create. And the importance of supporting one another, no matter what, is essential. And so I would love to hear from you guys, like, why is it that you believe that it's so essential for women to actively support one another, especially given the landscape of the world that we're in today?
Right. Well, I think it's important to us because we've lived it and we know what it means. I couldn't imagine a world without my sisters. I just can't imagine. And that goes for blood sisters as well as found sisters. Amy and I both came up in a world where we both were in very male-dominated businesses, and we were often the only woman, especially Amy, the only woman in the room. And that in that time period, if there was another woman, you were competitive because you were fighting the typical phrase that everyone uses, you were fighting for that one seat at the table. If there were two of you, there's a little game of musical chairs, like who's going to get the seat and get up the next rung of the ladder. So I think I'm mixing analogies there, but you know what I mean.
I know where you're going.
And I think we've finally come to the place in this world where we realize we're stronger together. The more we support each other, the more we all win. A win for one of us is a win for everyone. And I think that because Amy and I truly believe that everyone keeps telling us the magic of this community comes from the top, and that we've put our values out there and people have learned what our values are and share in those values. So I do think that it's just super supportive. I mean, it's been super important for women to be supportive of one another.
Yeah. We do an annual Women's Equity Summit. It started in 2020. And when we started that, we decided to focus on women from marginalized communities. And that is what the Sisterhood has become. So the online community really welcomes women from all communities, LGBTQ, Black, Asian, women with disabilities, women over 50. And these are the women that are really grateful for the space because we don't talk on their behalf. We give them a place where they can come and speak for themselves. And they tell us all the time, like, people always talk about us and for us, but they don't let us say what's on our minds and what we need and what we feel. And in a world where women's rights are being attacked around the world, and it's even harder for women from marginalized communities, it feels really good to have created a place where they can come and know that they can be heard and seen, because that's what they want more than anything else.
Yeah. And I love that because that's so much of what I talk about, with the importance of being in spaces where you get to show up authentically, where you get to be real, where you get to be all of yourself and not feel like you are in judgment. And I think we're in a time right now where that is more important than ever. I mean, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had just even in the last week or two, where I'm meeting amazing people like you guys or, other incredible, inspiring leaders out there who are doing amazing work. And we're all talking about how everybody is coming to a place where they just want to be somewhere where they can be themselves and not feel judged and not feel afraid to even voice an opinion that may not be the popular one, but know that it's safe for them to be able to express it and to be heard. And it's not about having to agree with everybody. It's about holding space for whatever it is that somebody needs, whatever it is that they want to say, whatever it is that's on their heart. And it's not about having to agree all the time. It's just about holding space. And that to me is really ultimately what creates a supportive community. To me, that is the community that I actively am always seeking out. So for those women who are tuning in and listening today, what would you say to somebody who is wondering, where can I find a place, or how do I know if this is a safe place, so that they can start, or maybe even they want to start a community for themselves or a network that will lift each other up instead of seeing other people as competition? What would you say to them, or what steps would you invite them to take?
I mean, it's interesting that you said the competition thing, because that's one of our big things too, is like, we know a ton of women that have communities, and we're constantly introducing each other to people. Like Kat is a perfect example. Like Kat's got this amazing community, and Kat has introduced us to more people in the last 3 months than probably anybody else. And there's room for everybody to be doing what they're doing. And there's power in all of our communities coming together. Again, it's that strength in numbers thing. So for people who want to build a community, I mean, the first and foremost, I would just say start building it. Nancy and I didn't even really know it was a thing until last year. And we've been building communities on social media for a long time and through our podcast, but we didn't have this dedicated space. And that's what's made all the difference in the world. And it seems really daunting, like 2 months for like, I don't know what platform to use, and I don't know how to set this up. And then we took like a 1-hour seminar that was like, oh, we just built our community, and now we just have to start populating it with content and inviting people. So, just any platform's fine. Find a platform that you like and use it. They're never going to have all the things you want them to have, but it's going to do whatever you need it to do. Just do that. Building it is hard. Getting people to join is hard. But you know what? If you have 2 people, you have a community. And so just start inviting people and making connections. And the more you offer them what they're looking for in that personal one-on-one connection, then the more they're going to say, oh my God, you have to come and join this because it's really wonderful. So it's, and for us, we're just in it for the long game. Like, this is our thing. We have found our purpose. we're not giving up on this. We're going to keep going and going and going. And I think if you're going to do it and you want it to be like, bigger than just your small little group of friends, then you've got to really be committed to sticking to it and making it happen. And the other thing we do is we have women we call our Power Passionistas, and they're our resident experts. Nancy and I aren't life coaches, and we're not experts in most things, but we know the women who are. So we have a group of women that's expanding. We're opening up the program to women who want to join, and they can become Power Passionistas, and they're the women that provide the workshops and the courses and really share their expertise with the members of the community. So we're kind of leveraging their skills to make our community more appealing. Like, a lot of communities are just one person as the face of it, which is awesome. And those are totally, that's one way to go. But I think if you're building like a broader community, don't be afraid to ask people to be a part of it and support you, because you'll be amazed who'll show up.
Yeah, I think you bring up 2 important points that come to mind. And I'll start with the first one, which is about purpose. You said the word purpose. And I know that a lot of us, we struggle sometimes to figure out, like, what is our purpose? What are we here to do? Right? So what would you say to somebody listening right now? Like, how can they tune into or really discover their purpose? And how have you seen the role of sisterhood and community support that?
Well, I think as far as finding it, I feel like it's a 3-component thing. And I always tell people, you have to find your joy. And a lot of time that goes back to what made you joyful when you were a kid. And if you find your joy, that will lead you to your passion, which is not always the same thing, but it's similar. It gives you the same feeling and uses a lot of the same skills. And once you find your passion, you'll find your purpose. So I think for Amy and I, that journey was our passion when we were kids, as silly as it sounds, was watching television. We loved TV. And through watching hours and hours and hours of television, we discovered the joy of storytelling and our passion for storytelling. And I went into theater, Amy went into movies, and we did that for a really long time. And when we were ready for our next adventure, we realized that we fell into the world of celebrity interviewing, but we realized that why we loved that so much, it was continuing that path of storytelling. And we realized we wanted to start storytelling about women whose stories weren't being heard. And so that's when we started the podcast. So that ultimately is what led to our purpose, which is shining a light on these women who aren't being talked about or don't get the stage to talk about themselves. And so our joy of watching TV when we were little has really led us through our lives to this purpose. So I think that's where people need to start.
In answer to the first part, which is also helping people find their purpose, is a huge part of what we're doing in the community. The year of 2023 and 2024 into the beginning of 2025, we've been building a series of courses and that all relate to each other, even though you could just take one and have it stand on its own. But it starts with tapping into your intuition and letting go of perfectionism. The second course is about finding your purpose, right? It's about what are the things that you are driven to do and how do you get your message out? The third course, which has just happened this summer, is about giving yourself permission to do the things you want to do, to make the mistakes you need to make, all that stuff. And it's actually a really beautiful hypnosis-driven meditation course. And then we're starting, end of September, October, we're starting the next course, which is a DEI course. And then the last course is going to be about kind of the nuts and bolts of your ideal calendar and your 12-week year and all these kind of skills to manage things. So if anyone takes the series of courses, they'll start with trusting themselves, learn how to find what their purpose is, figure out how to incorporate other people into it, right, through the DEI element of it. And then now that you know what you want to do, like, okay, here are some things you can do to organize yourself so that you can execute your mission. And most of it's based on what Nancy and I did in 2023 when we stepped back, when we paused and said, okay, we need to completely redefine what we're doing. And 3 of the coaches are coaches that we worked with. The other 2 are dear friends and Power Passionistas whose work we have also been involved with and trust implicitly. So it's really our journey now available to other people through our premium membership so that they can figure this out, because we know what it's like to be on the other side of it and to know, like, I'm kind of on the road to it, but I'm not getting there. Why am I not getting there? And it's like, step back, pause, do this. You can do it all at your own pace. It's not a huge time commitment on any one of the courses, and you can really open yourself up to a different way of thinking.
Yeah. And the second part of the question that I do want to come back to, because I think you've talked about it, but I want to go deeper into it, which is really around how does sisterhood and community help people to really dive into their passions, to identify what their true purpose is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives you a place to feel like you're not alone, first of all, because it's finding your purpose can be a very lonely journey. Earlier I was saying people who go off to do some new thing that isn't the thing everybody is used to them doing, it freaks everybody around you out. It's like, I'm going to be a hypnotherapist. And it's like, what? You're going to do? You were like a school teacher. What are you talking about? And so even when people in your immediate sphere think they're being supportive, sometimes you feel like they're not getting you. So when you have a sisterhood like our sisterhood, where a lot of the women have either done it or they're doing it or they want to do it. And women, like someone posted a couple months ago, I'll never forget it, like a woman we know well. And she was like, we have a space called Introduce Yourself. And she had introduced herself in March. But she came on a couple months ago and was like, I'm reintroducing myself because I am reevaluating everything I'm doing in my life. And this is who I am right now. And I just wanted to reintroduce myself. And it was like, tons of comments, people hopping on, because it's like, we can all relate to that. We've all been there. So it makes you feel less alone. It makes it less scary. And it makes you feel a little less like there's no way I can do it, because there are other women who are doing it by your side or can help you go, oh, you know what? Let me help you avoid a pitfall there, because I just went through that. I mean, it's made our journey so much easier. You know, we've had so many women go like, have you guys thought about this? And it's like, no, we have not.
Mhm.
And thank you for saving us 6 months.
Yeah.
You know.
We have a space in our community called the Wall of Women's Wins. I think we're up to 125 now.
121, yep.
Our goal is 1 million, because like I said earlier, when one of us wins, we all win. And I think one of the great things about our community is that we celebrate each other. And I think that's really important when you're following your purpose and you're trying to find your purpose. And because it's hard. Sometimes it's a struggle, and sometimes you have bad days. So if you can just post on there, and the wins don't have to be huge. Yes, we have had wins where one of our women in our community had a billboard in Times Square on New Year's Eve. Like, that's pretty huge. But we've also had wins where I took a day off yesterday. Yay me, you know? And so celebrating just the little things reminds us that it's important to keep going and that there's someone there supporting you.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough. You know, I think if anything, you know, the internet has made it easy for us to connect and to find our people. And so many times I've been kind of going through this right now with myself, even as, you know, I've got my friends locally here where I live, and then I've got like my sisters, you know, in other mastermind and communities that I'm a member of and I've been a part of. And it's interesting because I'm seeing relationships in IRL, right? Like the ones here in the city I live in are starting to shift. And the sisters that I have made in my online communities and the masterminds that I'm a part of are strengthening, because there is a shared, to your point, and sort of what I'm hearing you say is that like we're stronger together. And part of that is a commitment to being there for each other, whatever it is that looks like, without judgment, holding space. And I have personally found that, you know, a lot of friends locally, they tend to get more into judgment or, you know, chest bumping of like, my story is worse than your story. And that just doesn't serve, you know, in any capacity. And to be honest, like I've chosen to remove myself because I'm like, I know myself well enough now to know that I don't thrive in these types of communities. Mm-hmm. And what I'm also hearing, sort of an undercurrent of what it is that you guys provide, is a place for people to really stand in their courage, and just the courage to show up as themselves. And ultimately that in and of itself is powerful. And it's really how you're going to ripple your impact across the world. So
yeah, I feel like when people first come in, they kind of lurk a little bit because they think it's going to be like everything else they've experienced. And then when they start to see what's happening, they're like, what? Like, I can actually, our one rule is like, you have to be respectful. You just have to be nice and respectful. And beyond that, you can believe whatever you believe. You can feel whatever you feel. Just be nice to each other. And even in the maybe almost awkward stuff, it's like I was saying with the conversation the other night, it's like people are willing to say, you know what, this is why my community doesn't necessarily use that language, or this is why I personally choose not to say that. Like someone we know was doing a quiz and we saw a word in there. We think you probably don't know this. If you do, we're sorry for saying it, but we want to point out a word that we think would be offensive to a particular community that you probably don't know about. And they were like, oh my God, I had no idea. So we love when people tell us those things. And we're finding people are really great, like doing that offline so that no one feels embarrassed. We feel the same way. Like we're super introverted and we have each other. So we've always had a built-in friend. So we don't have a ton of like local friends. And I used to be super skeptical of like, oh, you can make lasting connections online. It's like, right, that's not possible. All of our best friends live and across the world, and we've never met them. 2 or 3 of them in person. Everybody else is like, well, someday we'll meet them.
Yeah.
You know,
I know. I always joke with one of my friends, like, it's so funny because she lives in San Francisco. I'm in Los Angeles. And I'm like, we're traveling to Puerto Rico to spend time together. We're traveling to Egypt to see each other.
We're
like,
like rent a village in Italy and have everybody come.
but that's the beauty of it, right? It's like, what a beautiful life we get to have and the people that we get to include in that life that we've created and we get to have. So I would love for you guys to leave just one bit of parting wisdom to our audience today as we wrap our conversation around sisterhood and community.
I just think there's nothing better than a sister. It's nice to be together to do these. We're usually in separate places.
Yeah.
And I just wish for everybody that they find their sisters, whether that's in our community or somewhere else, and lean on them for support, because the world is a lot easier when you have someone to lean on.
Yeah, it's funny because I was going to say the support thing. Like, and Nancy and I are definitely the kind of people that we do not like to ask for help. And I wish I had learned a lot younger that it's okay. Not only is it okay, like you're doing yourself and everybody else in your life a disservice, because people actually want to help. People love to be asked to help and share their knowledge and be supportive. And everybody in our community, one of the things we realized is when we kept being asked, what makes your community different, is the women in our community are all the kind of women that when you talk to them, the first thing they say to you is, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And we do that too. And we don't find that everywhere we go. So I guess my parting wisdom is like, don't be afraid to ask people for support, to ask people for help, to lean on people. That's how you actually make the long-lasting sisterly connections, because people appreciate when you're vulnerable and your real self, and they can tell when you're faking it. They can tell when you're just saying everything is great. Nothing's great all the time for anybody. So come to a place like ours, build your own, find someplace where you feel good, but find your people and let them be there for you as much as you're there for them.
I love it. Ladies, thank you so much for being here today. And I want to make sure that everybody can find you guys. Where's the best place that people can connect with you?
The best place is just go to thepassionistasproject.com. And you'll find links to the sisterhood. You'll find all our socials, and it's the easiest way to connect. We're a DM or an email away.
And there's a free membership level that is really full of great potential to meet other amazing women. So you don't have to feel like, oh, is it in my budget? Come and join us and get to know the women, and you'll fall in love like we have.
I love it. You guys, thank you so much for being here today. And I hope that everybody tuning in has found the importance of finding your community, finding your people, finding your sisters, and to see how valuable it is. And so thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode. As a reminder, don't forget to follow me across social media, Wendy Page Sterling. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful rest of your day, afternoon, evening, whatever time zone you guys are in. Sending you all so much love and light always. Mwah. Bye, everybody.